Have you ever wondered what happens to your body and mind when you stop having sex after turning 70? It's a question many people shy away from, but it's an important conversation to have, especially for seniors who want to maintain their health and vitality. Sex isn't just about pleasure or intimacy, it's deeply connected to how our bodies function, how our minds stay sharp, and even how long we might live. As we age, our bodies naturally go through many changes. But when sexual activity slows down or stops altogether, there can be surprising effects that ripple through our overall well-being. From hormone shifts to heart health, immune strength, mental clarity, and emotional bonds, the impact goes far beyond the bedroom. Understanding these changes can be empowering. It helps us see that maintaining intimacy in some form isn't just a luxury. It's a vital part of staying connected, active, and joyful in the later years of life. So if you're ready to learn about the 5 powerful ways your body and mind respond when sex becomes less frequent or stops after 70, keep listening. This knowledge could transform how you think about aging and inspire you to embrace this meaningful part of your health. If you are not subscribed, subscribe and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. If you like the topic of this video, please comment 1. If you don't, please comment 0 to let me know how I can improve and make better videos for you. Now, let's begin. Number 1. Hormone levels decrease more rapidly. As we journey through our 70s and beyond, many of us begin to notice subtle, and sometimes not so subtle, changes in how our bodies feel each day. For some, the first hints are small, perhaps a little more fatigue in the morning, a dip in motivation that's hard to explain, or a gradual fading of that spark we used to take for granted. For others, these changes arrive more abruptly, as if some invisible switch has been flipped, and suddenly it takes more effort just to feel like ourselves. Often, we chalk this up to just getting older, a phrase we hear so often it almost becomes a mantra. But the truth is, many of these shifts are deeply tied to something most of us don't talk about openly, especially after a certain age. That something is the natural decline of hormones, and how that process can speed up when sex becomes less frequent or stops altogether. You might be wondering, what do hormones have to do with the changes we feel as we age? And more importantly, why does intimacy matter so much in keeping those hormones balanced? The answer, as it turns out, is both simple and profound. Hormones like testosterone and estrogen are much more than just sex hormones. They are messengers, constantly sending signals throughout our bodies to help regulate energy, mood, muscle strength, bone health, and even how well our minds function day to day. For decades, the steady rhythm of life, work, family, relationships, physical touch, helped keep those hormones humming along in the background, doing their jobs almost unnoticed. But after 70, especially when sexual activity slows down, the decline in these hormones can become much more pronounced, and the effects can ripple outward into nearly every aspect of our lives. Take the story of Robert, a retired engineer from Ohio. For years, Robert led a busy, fulfilling life with his wife, filled with road trips, community events, and shared laughter. But when his wife passed away, Robert found himself adrift. His interest in sex faded almost overnight, replaced by a kind of emotional fog he'd never experienced before. At first, he thought it was simply grief, and of course, grief played a role. But months passed, and Robert found his energy lagging more each week. He'd wake up still tired after a full night's sleep. Conversations with friends took more effort. His mind, once sharp and quick, felt sluggish. It wasn't until a routine doctor's visit that the conversation turned to hormone levels. A simple blood test revealed that Robert's testosterone had dropped much lower than what would be expected for his age. His doctor explained that while it's natural for testosterone to decline as we grow older, a sudden drop like Robert's, especially following a big change in his emotional or intimate life, can accelerate that process. The lack of sexual activity was, in essence, sending a signal to his body that these hormones weren't as necessary anymore, and so the body produced less and less. The result? More fatigue, lower mood, muscle loss, and a sense of aging that felt faster and heavier than it needed to be. Robert's story isn't unique. Across the country, thousands of seniors experience similar patterns. Women, too, face their own set of challenges when estrogen begins to fall more quickly. Hot flashes, night sweats, changes in skin elasticity, and an increased risk for bone fractures and heart issues. Estrogen does more than just regulate reproduction. It helps keep bones strong, arteries flexible, and minds clear. When sexual activity stops, especially after decades of a regular rhythm, the drop-off can feel like stepping off a ledge rather than strolling down a gentle hill. But why does sex have such a profound effect on hormone levels? It's not just about the act itself, but everything that surrounds it. The anticipation, the touch, the laughter, the closeness. These moments of intimacy trigger a cascade of chemical messages throughout the body, nudging hormone production back into balance. Sexual activity boosts not only testosterone and estrogen but also endorphins, oxytocin, and other feel-good chemicals that help regulate pain, stress, and mood. Even non-sexual intimacy, hugging, holding hands, gentle caresses, can send positive signals to the brain and body. For some, the idea of trying to restart intimacy after a period of absence may feel overwhelming or even unnecessary. Health issues, mobility challenges, or the loss of a partner can make it seem out of reach. But understanding the science behind these changes can offer hope and practical steps. Maintaining some level of physical closeness, whether through cuddling, massages, or simply sharing quiet moments, can help slow the decline in hormone levels. Regular exercise, especially strength training, has also been shown to help seniors maintain higher testosterone and estrogen. Stress management, through meditation, prayer, or hobbies, further supports healthy hormone function. Let's not forget the emotional aspect either. Feeling desired, cared for, and connected triggers its beneficial chain reaction inside us. It's easy to underestimate the power of emotional intimacy, but it truly does affect our bodies at the deepest level. Even if sex isn't possible or isn't appealing, small acts of connection can go a long way. A gentle touch, a loving word, or even just making eye contact with someone you care about can lift your spirits and quietly boost the chemical messengers that help you feel alive. Back to Robert. In the months after learning about his hormone drop, he worked with his doctor to find the right combination of lifestyle changes. He joined a walking group at his local rec center, began eating more protein and leafy greens, and made an effort to reach out to friends more often. He also started hormone replacement therapy under his doctor's supervision. Gradually, his energy returned, and so did his interest in life's little pleasures. He even found himself looking forward to Saturday night card games and the possibility of new friendships. For women, a similar approach can make a world of difference. Staying active, engaging in gentle physical touch, and seeking support from trusted friends or health professionals can help ease the symptoms of falling estrogen. There's no shame in talking to your doctor about what you're experiencing. Open conversations about sexual health and hormone changes are one of the best gifts we can give ourselves as we age. It's important to remember, declining hormones are a natural part of the aging process, but when sexual activity disappears entirely, the drop can be steeper and the consequences more pronounced. That's why finding ways to nurture intimacy, whatever that means for you, can help you maintain your strength, resilience, and zest for life. Hormone balance isn't about chasing youth or trying to turn back the clock. It's about honoring your body, giving it the signals it needs to stay as healthy and energetic as possible in the years ahead. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. In the end, the story of hormones after 70 is a story about connection. To ourselves, to our loved ones, and to the life we want to keep living. The science is clear. Regular physical and emotional intimacy, in whatever form feels right for you, can help slow the decline of hormones that keep you feeling strong, alert, and engaged. It's never too late to pay attention to this part of your health, to ask questions, and to seek support when you need it. So, if you've noticed changes in your energy, your mood, or your sense of well-being, consider looking beyond the obvious. Sometimes, the missing piece is something as simple and as profound as the human need for closeness. Talk with your doctor, lean on your support network, and remember that aging well is about more than just avoiding illness. It's about living fully, embracing connection, and taking every step you can to keep your body, mind, and spirit thriving. Let Robert's journey be a reminder. Even in our 70s and beyond, our bodies still respond to love, touch, and meaningful connection. By nurturing intimacy, staying active, and keeping an open heart, we can help our hormones support us, so we can enjoy every precious day to the fullest. Number 2. Cardiovascular health declines. After you pass the age of 70, you might notice that your body speaks to you in new ways. The things that once came easily, climbing stairs, gardening, enjoying a brisk walk, sometimes start to feel a bit more taxing. For many seniors, these changes are gradual, but sometimes they seem to appear overnight. There's a tendency to brush them off as an inevitable part of aging. But what if part of the shift is linked to something you may not have considered? Changes in your intimate life, particularly the decline or disappearance of sexual activity. It might sound surprising, but sexual intimacy isn't just about pleasure or closeness with a partner. It also offers your body a unique and often overlooked form of exercise. In many ways, sexual activity acts as a gentle but effective cardiovascular workout, helping to keep your heart, blood vessels, and circulatory system in good working order. When this part of life fades, it can quietly set off a cascade of effects that reach far beyond the bedroom, impacting your heart health, stamina, and overall energy. Take a moment to think back on the last time you felt your heart pounding with excitement, not because you were climbing a hill, but simply because you were sharing a moment of intimacy. That quickening pulse, the warmth spreading through your body, and even the light sweat that sometimes follows, these are all signs that your cardiovascular system is being put to work. During sexual activity, your heart rate naturally increases, your blood vessels dilate, and oxygen is carried more efficiently throughout your body. This boost to your circulation can be compared to the benefits you get from a light aerobic workout, like taking a brisk walk around your neighborhood or dancing in your living room. For those who maintain an active sex life into their 70s and 80s, these regular cardiovascular mini-workouts can add up, supporting heart health in subtle but meaningful ways. However, when sexual activity drops away, whether due to the loss of a partner, health issues, pain, fatigue, or just changing priorities, so does this natural cardiovascular boost. And over time, the effects can become noticeable. Let's consider the story of Joan, a 76-year-old retired schoolteacher from Pennsylvania. For most of her life, Joan considered herself reasonably active. She enjoyed gardening, took walks with her friends, and valued the closeness she shared with her husband of more than 50 years. But after her husband's passing, Joan found herself withdrawing, not only from social activities but also from the kind of physical intimacy that had been a quiet but steady part of her life. At first, she didn't think much of it. Grief was heavy, and her days were filled with new routines and responsibilities. Months passed, and Joan began to notice that she was tiring more easily. Tasks that once felt simple, climbing the stairs, carrying groceries, even tending to her beloved flowers, now left her breathless and worn out. At her next checkup, her doctor found that her blood pressure had crept up, and her circulation wasn't as strong as before. There was no major health crisis, but the difference was clear. When her doctor gently asked about lifestyle changes, Joan hesitated, then admitted that her intimate life had changed completely since her husband's death. Her doctor explained that, while sexual activity isn't the only factor in maintaining a healthy heart, it does play a unique role. The physical exertion involved, however mild it may seem, encourages the heart to pump more efficiently, improves blood vessel flexibility, and helps regulate blood pressure. Plus, the emotional connection and stress relief that come with intimacy release beneficial hormones that further protect cardiovascular health. In Joan's case, the sudden absence of this exercise had contributed to a slow, quiet decline in her heart's vitality. But this isn't just about what's happening inside your arteries. When your cardiovascular health begins to wane, you may notice changes all across your daily life. Maybe you start to feel tired sooner than you used to, or your legs cramp when you walk a block farther than normal. Sometimes wounds take a little longer to heal. Some men notice increased difficulty with erectile function, while women may experience vaginal dryness or discomfort, both linked to reduced blood flow. For couples, this can create a cycle. Physical changes reduce intimacy, which further impact circulation and heart health, and so on. The good news is, the heart is remarkably resilient. Joan's story didn't end with her blood pressure diagnosis. She decided to join a gentle exercise class at her local community center, focusing on stretching, balance, and light aerobic activity. As she became more comfortable with movement again, she also allowed herself to reconnect, slowly, with the idea of intimacy. That didn't mean rushing back to the past, but rather being open to small acts of affection, like hugging, holding hands, or even just sharing a warm embrace with a friend or grandchild. Over time, Joan's stamina improved, her blood pressure stabilized, and she felt more vibrant, inside and out. It's important to remember that sexual activity is only one piece of the puzzle when it comes to cardiovascular health. Regular walking, balanced nutrition, managing stress, and taking prescribed medications all play crucial roles. But the benefits of intimacy are unique in the way they blend physical activity with emotional satisfaction. The heart, after all, is not just a muscle. It is the center of our emotional lives, too. In American culture, we sometimes shy away from discussing intimacy later in life, as if it's a topic best left to the young. But the reality is, your need for connection and the benefits it brings don't vanish with age. Nurturing those aspects of life may become even more important. Finding ways to maintain or rekindle intimacy, whether through sex, touch, shared laughter, or meaningful conversation, can help keep your heart stronger and your spirits higher. If sex isn't possible or desirable, there are plenty of other ways to get your heart pumping. Gentle walks, swimming, dancing, yoga, or Tai Chi all support cardiovascular health. But don't underestimate the role of emotional intimacy, either. Sharing your feelings, confiding in a friend, or simply taking a moment to hold hands with someone you care about all send positive signals to your body and mind. They lower stress, stabilize blood pressure, and encourage healing at the cellular level. For couples navigating new health challenges, communication becomes especially important. Talk openly about your needs and limitations. Explore new ways to stay close, whether that means redefining what intimacy looks like or finding creative ways to spend time together. For those who are single or widowed, social connection still matters. Reaching out to others, joining clubs or support groups, or even volunteering can offer meaningful contact and, yes, a healthier heart. Above all, don't accept a decline in cardiovascular health as inevitable. The body is wonderfully adaptive, even in the later decades of life. Small changes, like adding a daily walk, eating a little less salt, or inviting more affection into your life, can add up to big improvements. If you have concerns about your heart or circulation, talk with your doctor. Be honest about changes in your intimate life, as these can be important clues to your overall health. Remember, your heart is more than just a pump. It is your life's rhythm, your source of energy and joy, and the vessel for every loving connection you make. By honoring and caring for your heart, in all the ways that matter, you give yourself the best chance at a vibrant, active, and deeply satisfying life at any age. And that's something worth holding on to, with both hands. Number 3. The immune system weakens. One of the most remarkable things about the human body is its quiet, tireless work to protect us every single day. Long before we feel a sniffle or fever, our immune system is on patrol, seeking out invaders, mending what's broken, and keeping us strong enough to enjoy the best parts of life. But as we age, we start to notice that our bodies don't bounce back quite like they used to. Maybe it's that winter cold that seems to linger a little longer, or a scratch that takes its time to heal. For many older adults, the reason behind this gradual change often lies beneath the surface, far beyond the aches and pains we can see. Surprisingly, One of the key factors is a change we may not talk about much: the decline of sexual activity. It's not something that's often discussed in doctors' offices or at the dinner table, but the truth is, intimacy, including sex, affectionate touch, or even deep emotional connection, plays a powerful role in keeping our immune systems running smoothly. It might sound unexpected, but science has shown time and again that the act of sharing closeness with another person, especially through sexual activity, stimulates the release of a unique blend of hormones and chemicals. These substances, like oxytocin, dopamine, and endorphins, do much more than lift our spirits. They also give our bodies a natural boost in their ability to fight off illness. Let's take the example of Walter, a retired accountant from Michigan. For most of his adult life, Walter had a strong immune system. He was the kind of man who would shrug off a cold in a day or two, rarely missed a day of work, and could spend hours outside without a worry. But in his late 70s, things started to change. After Walter and his wife became less physically intimate, partly due to health concerns and partly just the gentle drift of time, he began to notice he was getting sick more often. Each time the grandkids visited with a runny nose, he would catch their bug. A scratch from gardening would take weeks to heal instead of days. Even a mild cough would linger, turning into something that needed antibiotics. Walter was puzzled, so at his next checkup, he shared his concerns with his doctor. The conversation turned toward lifestyle changes, and for the first time, Walter considered whether his lack of intimacy might be affecting more than just his emotional well-being. His doctor explained that there's a real and direct link between sexual activity and immune health, especially in older adults. During sex, the body releases a variety of hormones that act as natural stress busters, lowering the harmful effects of chronic stress and inflammation, two of the biggest enemies of a healthy immune system. Regular intimacy also increases levels of immunoglobulin, a kind of antibody that patrols our airways and helps us fight off colds, the flu, and even more serious infections. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 2 below to let me know that you are still here with me. Walter learned that the immune system is a little like a team of firefighters. When it gets the right signals, like the positive chemical messages from intimacy and connection, it stays alert and ready to respond. But when those signals fade, especially combined with the natural decline of immune function in older age, the team grows sluggish. The result? More colds, slower healing, and a general feeling of vulnerability. Walter's story is far from unique. Studies have shown that seniors who continue to experience physical intimacy in some form, whether it's sex, hugging, or even regular hand-holding, tend to have stronger immune responses and fewer health setbacks than those who don't. That's not to say sex is a magic cure, but it's a vital piece of the puzzle. The closeness and pleasure of intimacy help the body release chemicals that counteract stress, stimulate immune cells, and keep inflammation in check. But what happens when intimacy drops away? For many seniors, a decrease in sexual activity can mean a silent weakening of the body's first line of defense. This isn't just about picking up an extra cold or two. A weakened immune system increases the risk for all sorts of complications. Chronic infections, pneumonia, even hospitalizations that might have been avoidable with a bit more natural protection. There's also the emotional side to consider. The connection between our minds and our immune systems is profound. When we feel lonely or isolated, which is all too common among seniors who have lost a partner or whose families live far away, our bodies produce more stress hormones. These, in turn, dampen the effectiveness of our immune cells, making us more likely to get sick and less likely to recover quickly. It's a cycle that can be hard to break. Less intimacy leads to poorer immune function, which leads to more illness, which in turn can further reduce our desire or ability to seek connection. So what can be done? Walter, for his part, took his doctor's advice seriously. While he didn't feel ready to jump back into an active sex life, he began focusing on what he could control. He reached out to friends for regular visits, started a weekly card game with his neighbors, and even adopted a cat for a bit of extra companionship. He paid closer attention to his sleep, nutrition, and daily movement. Over time, as Walter felt more connected to others, he noticed he was catching fewer colds. He felt stronger and more resilient. It wasn't just the vitamins or the extra soup in winter, it was the healing power of connection. This lesson holds true for all of us. Whether or not sexual activity is still part of your life, finding ways to nurture physical and emotional closeness can make a real difference to your immune health. Cuddling a grandchild, enjoying a warm hug from a friend, laughing together at a favorite TV show. These may seem like small things, but each one is a signal to your body that it's safe, loved, and ready to heal. And if you are in a relationship, don't underestimate the power of a shared moment, even if it's just holding hands before bed or sharing a quiet conversation at breakfast. It's also important to recognize that intimacy is personal and changes over time. Health issues, medications, and energy levels can all affect what feels right for you. But the science is clear. Maintaining connection, in whatever form fits your life, is a powerful way to support your immune system and overall well-being. As we age, the world can sometimes feel smaller. Illnesses linger, and energy may dip. But in those moments, don't overlook the simple, healing force of closeness. Physical, emotional, or both. It's as vital as any medicine, as nourishing as any meal. By tending to your connections, you give your body the signals it needs to stand strong against the challenges of time. You help ensure that, no matter your age, you can keep welcoming life's joys and fighting off life's setbacks with resilience and hope. So if you find yourself wondering why your body isn't bouncing back like it used to, consider not just what you're eating or how much you're sleeping, but how much connection and closeness you're allowing into your days. It just might be the missing ingredient your immune system needs to keep you feeling your best, season after season. Number 4. Mental health and cognitive function can worsen. As the years go by and the seasons of life shift, we sometimes notice changes not only in our bodies but in our hearts and minds as well. There's a kind of wisdom that comes with age, a gentler understanding of what matters and what doesn't, and an appreciation for small, everyday joys. But some challenges arrive quietly, almost unnoticed, until one day we realize we're not quite as lighthearted as we once were, or our minds aren't quite as quick. Among the changes that can creep in after age 70, few are as impactful as the subtle effects on mental health and cognitive function, especially when intimacy and sexual activity begin to fade. You might not think of sex as having much to do with mental sharpness or mood, but science, and the experience of countless older adults, suggests otherwise. Sexual activity is deeply connected to our emotional and mental well-being, not just in obvious ways like pleasure or bonding, but in the very chemistry of our brains. During moments of intimacy, our bodies release a rush of feel-good chemicals, dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, that help lift our spirits, calm anxiety, and make us feel connected and alive. These same neurotransmitters help regulate sleep, appetite, and the resilience we need to weather life's ups and downs. As intimacy becomes less frequent or disappears altogether, some seniors notice an increase in sadness, irritability, or even a kind of persistent fogginess that can be hard to describe. Little things, like remembering a friend's birthday or following the plot of a TV show, become more difficult. Social gatherings that once brought joy may now seem overwhelming, or simply too much effort. For some, loneliness settles in, and with it, a feeling of being a little less themselves. Take Margaret, a 75-year-old retired nurse from Colorado. Margaret always considered herself a positive, resilient person. She loved crossword puzzles, took pride in keeping up with current events, and rarely missed her weekly bridge games. But after a string of health problems left her feeling less interested in intimacy with her husband, she began to notice small changes creeping in. She was more forgetful, sometimes losing her train of thought in the middle of a sentence. Her bridge group became less appealing, and she'd sometimes stay home rather than face the crowd. She felt blue more often, for reasons she couldn't quite pinpoint. During her annual checkup, Margaret's doctor asked about her mood and her social life, and gently brought up the topic of intimacy. The doctor explained that, after age 70, A decline in sexual activity can trigger not just hormonal changes, but shifts in brain chemistry. The regular release of mood-stabilizing neurotransmitters slows down, and the emotional warmth that comes from touch and closeness is harder to come by. Over time, this can open the door to depression, anxiety, and even cognitive decline. Studies have found that seniors who remain sexually active, whatever that looks like for them, tend to score higher on tests of memory, attention, and problem-solving than those who are less active. That's not just a coincidence. Engaging in intimacy stimulates parts of the brain responsible for neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to form new connections and adapt to changes. This is crucial as we age. Just like muscles that weaken from lack of use, the brain needs stimulation to stay strong. Even a gentle, affectionate touch can help keep the brain flexible and resilient. But it's not just about memory. Intimacy of any kind, whether it's holding hands, sharing laughter, or cuddling on the couch, helps combat feelings of loneliness, which is a major risk factor for depression and cognitive decline in older adults. Humans are wired for connection, and when those connections wane, the emotional and mental effects can be profound. For Margaret, understanding this link was a wake-up call. With her husband's encouragement, she began to explore new ways to be close, even if that didn't always mean sex. Sometimes it was just sharing a cup of coffee and reminiscing about old times. Other days, it was as simple as a long hug before bed. Slowly, Margaret found her spirits lifting. She started joining her bridge games again, enjoying the friendly banter and the challenge of keeping her mind sharp. The little lapses in memory became less frequent, and she felt a renewed sense of connection, not only to her husband, but to herself. It was proof that nurturing intimacy, in whatever form, could help mend not just the body, but the mind and heart as well. Of course, not every senior has a partner at home, and intimacy changes shape as we age. Health issues, loss, and changing desires all play a part. But connection is possible in many forms. Friendship, community, even a loving pet can help provide that sense of warmth and belonging. For those who live alone, reaching out to others through volunteering, clubs, or faith groups can provide opportunities for meaningful contact and conversation. These social ties are powerful medicine for the mind. It's also important to remember that mental health is just as vital as physical health. Too often, seniors feel ashamed or embarrassed to talk about depression, anxiety, or memory slips, as if these struggles are a personal failure or a normal part of aging to be endured in silence. But mental health deserves attention, compassion, and, when needed, professional help. Talking openly with your doctor about changes in mood, memory, or interest in life is an act of strength, not weakness. Sometimes, medical conditions or medications can contribute to mental changes, and a thorough checkup can help rule out underlying issues. But don't overlook the simple healing power of connection, whether that's through intimacy, laughter, or simply spending time with people who lift your spirits. For couples, honest communication is key. If intimacy has faded due to health challenges or emotional distance, having an open conversation about fears, needs, and new ways to be close can break down walls and rekindle a sense of partnership. For others, counseling or support groups can offer new tools and perspectives, and remind us that we are never truly alone in our experiences. As the years continue to unfold, it's natural for desire and energy to ebb and flow. But what remains constant is our basic human need for love, touch, and connection. These are not luxuries. They are essential to our happiness, our health, and our very sense of self. When we nurture these parts of life, we give ourselves the best possible chance to remain joyful, sharp, and resilient, even as time marches on. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 3 below to let me know that you are still here with me. So if you find yourself feeling down, forgetful, or disconnected, take a moment to reflect on the ways intimacy and connection play a role in your life. Sometimes the smallest gesture, a hand on the shoulder, a shared smile, a heartfelt conversation, can begin to turn the tide. By reaching out, nurturing relationships, and tending to your emotional well-being, You protect not just your mind, but your whole self. In the end, growing older brings its share of changes, but it also offers new chances to connect, learn, and grow. With each day, we have an opportunity to cherish those we love, to keep our minds engaged, and to keep our hearts open. And in that way, no matter our age, we continue to live fully, with hope, clarity, and meaning. Number 5. Relationship intimacy and emotional connection fade. There's a quiet, sometimes invisible thread that ties two people together over a lifetime. It's built from shared glances across a room, the warmth of a hand held in the dark, the comfort of familiar laughter, and the rituals that make up daily life together. Morning coffee, afternoon walks, the gentle way one partner smooths the other's collar before heading out the door. This thread is intimacy. It is both physical and emotional, fragile and resilient, and as the years go by, it can be stretched by life's challenges, sometimes to the breaking point. For many couples, the passing of age brings new joys, retirement, grandchildren, more time together. But it can also bring unexpected distance, especially as sexual activity wanes after 70. In our youth, intimacy often comes easily, sparked by excitement and novelty. But later in life, it is easy for routines and health changes to quietly move in, building a gentle wall between two hearts that once beat as one. Evelyn and George had been married for over 50 years. They'd built a life full of laughter, raising children and weathering storms both big and small. Their love was never in question, but after George's heart surgery, their physical relationship changed. At first, it was just a pause, doctor's orders, healing time. But as months passed, they found themselves falling out of old habits. What once came naturally now felt awkward or unnecessary. They loved each other deeply, but the spark of intimacy faded into a comfortable, sometimes lonely, companionship. For Evelyn, it was a subtle ache. She missed the soft touch of George's hand as he passed behind her at the kitchen counter, the way he used to rest his palm on her knee during a movie, the spontaneous hugs that made ordinary days special. Instead, their days grew quieter. Small misunderstandings became more common. Without realizing it, they began to live like polite roommates, sharing space, but not always sharing hearts. What Evelyn and George experienced is more common than many couples realize. The decline in sexual intimacy after 70 isn't just a matter of hormones or aging bodies. It often means the gradual loss of emotional closeness, too. Sex releases oxytocin, sometimes called the bonding hormone. This powerful chemical fosters trust, empathy, and a sense of attachment. When physical intimacy becomes rare, so do those chemical signals, and emotional distance can follow. Over time, couples may find themselves growing lonely together, longing for warmth they can't quite name. It's not only about sex. The little things, a kiss goodnight, a squeeze of the hand, a playful wink. These small moments feed the emotional bond between partners. When they fade, life's stresses feel heavier, and disagreements may sting more. Sometimes, resentment builds, or an undercurrent of sadness seeps into daily life. Even for couples who love each other dearly, the loss of these gestures can make them feel as if something precious has slipped away. But here's the hopeful truth. Intimacy is flexible. It can adapt, change shape, and return in new forms. For some couples, the answer lies in rediscovering the joy of touch. Simple acts like cuddling on the couch, dancing in the kitchen, or holding hands during a walk. For others, intimacy becomes more about emotional closeness, sharing fears, dreams, and stories from the past. Some couples explore new hobbies together or find humor in trying something out of the ordinary, like a pottery class or a vacation to a place they've never been. Recognizing the drift is the first step. For Evelyn and George, the change truly began when Evelyn voiced her loneliness. At first, George was surprised. He hadn't realized how much he missed those moments, too. With the help of a counselor, they started carving out time just for each other again. Sometimes it was as simple as sitting side by side, sharing memories and dreams, or listening to music from the early years of their marriage. Gradually, they rekindled their closeness, not always in the ways of their youth, but in ways that felt right for their hearts now. Emotional connection is not a luxury in old age. It is a cornerstone of resilience, happiness, and even health. Research shows that couples who remain close, whether physically, emotionally, or both, experience lower rates of depression, better cognitive health, and even longer lives. Conversely, emotional isolation can increase the risk of cognitive decline and earlier mortality. Yet it's never too late to strengthen those bonds. Communication is key. Honest conversations about needs, desires, and fears can open doors that seemed locked for years. Some couples write each other letters, others find new rhythms in daily rituals. Morning coffee shared on the porch, a sunset walk around the block, or reading a book aloud together in the evening. These acts of togetherness, however small, have a way of softening hearts and bringing back laughter. For those who are single or have lost a partner, the longing for connection doesn't disappear. Emotional intimacy can be found in friendships, family relationships, community, and even with pets. Joining social groups, volunteering, or pursuing interests with others can fill the need for meaningful connection and remind us that we are never truly alone. It's also important to have patience with yourself and with your partner. The changes that come with aging can be frustrating, and it's natural to mourn what was. But dwelling on loss only builds the walls higher. Instead, focus on what can be created anew. Intimacy is not a single act, but a lifelong process, a daily practice of showing up for one another, of listening, touching, and sharing the journey, even as the scenery changes. Evelyn and George's story is a testament to this truth. Their marriage, once filled with the fire of youth, now glows with a different light, a steady warmth built from years of shared experience and renewed commitment. By choosing to nurture intimacy in all its forms, they found not only each other again but themselves as well. If you find yourself drifting apart from a loved one, know that it's never too late to reach out, to share a feeling, to ask for a hug, or to try something new together. Even small acts of closeness can create ripples that travel far, weaving hearts back together with the strongest thread of all, love. In the end, relationship intimacy and emotional connection are not just the background music of a good life. They are the melody itself. They give our days meaning, fill our hearts with hope, and remind us, in moments both big and small, that we are cherished. So whether it's through laughter, touch, stories, or simply sitting quietly side by side, keep nurturing the connections that matter most. For in these ties, we find not just comfort, but the courage and joy to greet each new day together. As we come to the close of this journey, I hope you find yourself reflecting on just how much your well-being is shaped by the small choices and connections you make each day. Life after 70 is full of change, but it's also rich with opportunity. Opportunity to care for yourself, to reconnect with loved ones, and to embrace every chapter with courage and curiosity. You've seen how intimacy, in all its forms, is so much more than physical pleasure. It's the gentle touch that calms a restless heart, the shared laughter that makes a house feel like home, and the conversations that bring old memories to life. It's also the determination to stay active, to nurture your mind and body, and to reach out when you need a hand or a listening ear. Maybe something you've heard today reminded you of your own story, or sparked a new idea for how you can support your health and happiness in the years ahead. Remember, you are never too old to try something new, to build a stronger bond, or to find joy in the present moment. Every step you take, however small, matters. Now, I'd love to hear from you. What insight from today's discussion stood out to you most? How do you plan to use it in your own life? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Your stories inspire others and help build a community where everyone feels seen and valued. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and share it with friends or loved ones who might benefit. Your support helps us continue creating thoughtful, empowering content for seniors everywhere. Here's to a future filled with connection, health, and happiness, no matter your age.